Hello. Oh,
okay,
I will
great.
tell you everything. And I'm really nervous, as a lot of you guys, so okay. I mean, we're gonna talk about both Snapchat and Instagram stories, and since when I rehearsed this presentation took a little bit over 30 minutes, I think we should get right into it. And we'll start with me. My name is Petra Voráčková. As has been already said, I make content, I make pictures, videos, and you can find everything under this handle, VersusChildCZ. Also, if you want to tag me in any posts, I'll be happy to find them afterwards. This is my email. First of all, it's going to be here at the end as well, so don't stress about it. But as I was preparing this presentation, I forgot about anything else surrounding ITB. So basically, the whole time, I'm here for you if you want to either talk about it more or talk about influencer marketing or anything. Just make sure to hit me up. I'll be more than happy to share whatever it is that I know. I'm a photographer. I make pictures not only for myself, for other people, for my Instagram, for anything, but the love for visual expression is what I think led me to instantly fall in love with the format of stories, which is what we're going to call the format that Snapchat or Instagram stories uses to kind of show you what type of content I put on stories or what people put on stories. I put together a little bit of a highlight reel, so it's just going to be 1 minute. Let's see. most important players on the field at the moment. And we're going to talk about the format in general, not too much specifically to the platforms, because the situation changes literally every single day. And now I just want you to raise your hand if you have already used Snapchat or Instagram stories, or you have some sort of experience with it. Cool, cool. Yeah, great. That's a lot of people. I'm glad to see that. We're just going to go through the basics again, also for the people that don't know. So the content that is posted on stories, we're going to call it snaps. And they're either pictures or short videos that you can decorate with filters and stickers and make them look pretty. And they're usually in vertical format. Here are some examples. This is some of the stuff I posted on stories last summer. These are the face filters that you can know from Snapchat. What I like to do is to use them in inappropriate situations, such as in the refugee camp in Greece this past spring. And also, I'm a child of this generation, so when I get admitted to hospital, this is the first thing that I do. These are location filters in Snapchat. Instagram has them too, but they're significantly less pretty. So what sometimes you can do is to just use them on Snapchat and then upload that to Instagram stories. If you don't know where to find Instagram stories in the Instagram app, it's here on the top. Basically, the story is anything that has the colorful circle around the profile picture of the profile. You can find the ones from people you follow here on the top. In the Explore tab, you can find, like Instagram is going to recommend to you stories that they think might be interesting to you. There's top live videos thing that I never saw anything worth it there, but it exists. And if you want to watch a specific story, you can go to someone's Instagram profile, and if they have the colorful circle around their profile picture, that means that there's a story to be seen. Snapchat, by the way, that's the only thing that's happening there, so you just swipe right and then you're in stories. What is a story? That's a collection of snaps, of the little pieces of content that you saw right before, and they get posted on the story. Within the 24 hours, everything that I send over there can be seen by people, and it's going to be seen in the chronological order from the oldest ones to the newest ones. So just to see how it works, here on Snapchat, on the left, you can see how different pieces of content I'm posted one after the other. On the right, you see Instagram stories. It's just like it creates a little video of someone's daily life. And the important thing is that it's time-limited content. The piece of content disappears after 24 hours. So it feels very exclusive and also very personal, because people kind of lose themselves a little bit. They do stuff they wouldn't necessarily do on regular channels such as Facebook or Instagram feed. And because I see that basically everyone here wants to use stories not only for their personal benefit, but also kind of for business. So we need to know how to measure success and how to measure any sort of statistics on Snapchat or Instagram stories. So on Snapchat, it's views per snap. As you can see, that's the little eye over there. And or screenshots, which is this tiny little thing over there, is the only available, as far as I know, the only available thing to measure on Snapchat. And Instagram stories recently, literally on Friday, I think, rolled out more than just views. You get views here, which is how many profiles have seen that piece of content. Or you get impressions, and that's how many times that piece of content has been seen. Or you can see exits. These are very new things that can be found if you have business profile on Instagram, which everybody can switch to by connecting it to Facebook. You can see statistics about your Instagram stories from the last 14 days now, which I think is pretty amazing for using this format for business, because then you can measure. You can send that to the brands that you work with, or as a brand, you can control how many people have seen the piece of content that you created with someone. And also a change from last year, now you can upload alt content to both Snapchat and Instagram stories. Before it was only live, you only had to use the app to put content out there. Now you can upload all content. You can see beautiful screenshots, really. This is how Snapchat marks alt content, and on Instagram, they don't mark it at all, but you can only select content from the last 24 hours, which makes it a good tool for using also pieces of content that you create in your computer, like little jingles or maybe backgrounds for some for some text. And yeah, so we've seen that there's a lot of it out there. And you might be asking yourself, how can you even keep up? Because we've seen you, Petra. Last year you were here in a Snapcode t-shirt, and there was a giant sticker with your face on the Travel Massive event. And this year you're telling us that Snapchat is no longer relevant. What? It is still, not that much. We're going to go to the difference between the two later on. But here, first, we're going to explore why you should even care about these platforms. And I see that you do, which is amazing, because there's quite a lot of people here. And it's because people are watching. People listen to what you have to say, especially younger people, people like me. They don't really pay attention to advertising anymore. We want to get personal recommendations, but we don't mind if we get them from people that we've never seen. This is a graph. I've heard that if you put a graph in your presentation, that's going to make it look legit. But the important fact from this slide is that according to available information, Snapchat now has 150 million daily active users, which is a good number, and it shouldn't be ignored. This is from TechCrunch, but I've confirmed it by official Instagram statistics that Instagram Stories also now has 150 million daily users. Also recommend this article if you had time later. It's called Attack of the Clone, which is perfect name because Instagram Stories literally ripped off Snapchat. I'm always talking about them too because there are some differences, but the reason why people switched so easily to Instagram Stories from Snapchat is because it was the same thing. It just worked in the same way. And also, important statistic for businesses is that 70% people on Instagram, they follow a business, and I do it as well. I know, everybody I know follows a certain kind of business. So you, as a brand, you can do a lot on these formats, and you shouldn't forget about it. This is from last year, but I don't know how the numbers have changed, but it's just to represent the common misconception that Snapchat and formats such as these are only for kids, and only teenagers are there to send nude pics to one another, which is not true. It's a really creative format, and as you can see, most of the people on the platform are over 18 years old. That means they're adult and that they make purchasing decisions, which is interesting to everybody here. And now to the comparison between Snapchat and Instagram Stories. Last year, we said that Snapchat had basically three main problems. It was really hard to get discovered if you were on the platform, because the only way that people could see you on Snapchat was, sometimes I may mix them up, was to cross-promote. That means that you had to tell people to go to your Snapchat account. That means that everyone flooded every social media with their Snap code. As you can see, someone had it on their t-shirt. Bloggers had it as profile pictures. Everybody was like, add me on Snapchat, add me on Snapchat. And you had to cross-promote quite heavily. And also, it was just an additional app that you had to have in your phone, which I don't know about you, but I don't like to have too many apps on my phone. And all of that has been solved by Instagram Stories because you get discovered the same way that you would discover an Instagram account. I highly recommend to everyone, every brand, every person that wants to use it for business or that you have business, you need to have an Instagram account, and then you can add stories to it. You don't have to, but you can, and that's, I think, a huge advantage. Everything's in one place. You don't need to cross-promote anymore. You can write it on your you don't need to write it on your profile because they're going to see it because of the circle. You can say in your stories that you posted a new picture, but you don't have to do it as heavily as you had on Snapchat. And also tagging. The key feature of Instagram stories that's great for businesses is that if someone mentions you in their story, they can tag you, which is that. When you click on it, the story pauses, and what you can do is click on that little bubble up there, and it will lead you to someone's profile. And there you can obviously click on the hyperlink to a website. So if an influencer mentions your brand in their story in this way, then the people that see that story are only literally 2 or 3 clicks away from your website, and that's a really good tool. A note here: I think you can only tag accounts that you follow. So if you maybe want to tag someone and they don't appear there, it's because you're not following their account. This is really long, but what it's basically saying that Instagram, for the future, Instagram wants to become the go-to platform for visual expression. So they want to focus on what they're doing. And as you know, they're owned by Facebook, so they're going to go towards that a little bit more. Whereas Snapchat has recently gone public, which I would love to tell you what means, but I don't know. But what I've heard is that they're going to focus more on technology development rather than focusing on the social aspect of it. So that's another argument that speaks for Instagram stories rather than Snapchat. And in the end, Instagram is just good enough and convenient, and the convenience is the key word here. Both platforms have in common that they're highly engaging. You post something there and you get real-time responses. People just reply to if you ask a question, there's couple of people that will reply right away. There's more people that will reply over the 24 hours. But if you want to know an answer to a question right away, this is a great way to ask. Also, a personal story, when you see the picture from the hospital, I basically got my life saved through Instagram stories because I got poisoned by gas, and I asked on stories if someone has any experience with it, and there was a girl replying like, dude, you should call an ambulance, like this is not a joke. And I did, and now I'm here. So I think that's a good example of how engaging in real time this platform is. And another thing that speaks for Instagram is that it's 150 million active users on stories, but overall Instagram has way more users than Snapchat. So who would be still on Snapchat if I make such a heavy argument for Instagram stories? And it's brand loyalty, I would say, and it's also people that build their audiences on Snapchat before, and there are just some people that cannot be converted. If you build something on Snapchat for a long time, you're not gonna go away so fast. And I did ask in the blogger community, in the blogger Facebook groups or whatever, for some responses, and the 2 most interesting ones were from Drew Binsky, who is sort of the uncrowned king of travel Snapchat, and he admitted that he's slowly moving towards Instagram stories because it just doesn't see the future in Snapchat that much. I was allowed to quote this from him. And the longer one on the bottom is from Gloria from the blog Abroad, really lovely lady. And she on the other hand said that also, like, her views have cut, they've gone down a little bit too. But she stays loyal. She likes the platform better. She puts different content on each of them, and eventually her numbers went back up. So it's about preference, really. But let's do it, how you can grow your business with stories. You're gonna do it one of 3 ways. You can either have your own account, you're gonna work with influencers, or you're gonna try traditional-ish advertising. If you're gonna start your own account, personally, I would recommend do not go into Snapchat. Don't try to start a Snapchat account now because, as I made a point, it's kind of on the decline. If you already have the Snapchat account, however, you can work on growing it and still use it as a channel. But if you're starting out, grow your Instagram stories. As I said, if you don't have Instagram, start your Instagram account now. You can work with influencers, and there, I would love to talk about this more, but I just don't have time. you're going to do it one of the two ways. Either you're going to go for numbers or you're going to go for content. So what I mean is that either you're going to want the biggest reach you can get. You want to get your message to as many people as possible. And that's the place where you focus on the views per snap. And that's where you focus on the numbers. Or you're going to want to create something creative or create something fun that you can later share maybe on other platforms, or you just can use it as a case study. Usually it's going to be part of your, not even just Instagram, it's going to be part of your whole marketing strategy. Make sure to tell people that they should mention you. It's also for bloggers and everyone. It's a great way to grow. If someone that has a following tags you in their story, people they want to know who you hang out with, or like who that person is hanging out with. So some of you may check you out and just mentions, use mentions, they're great. Or you can do Instagram story takeovers or Snapchat takeovers, where you just let an influencer take over your brand account for a day or a week or something, and they're going to bring their audience to your channel, where, again, Instagram is better at this because then you get Instagram followers and Instagram stories watchers, rather than on Snapchat when you would get just one audience. Or you can do advertising, which Instagram has enrolled it. Oh, shoot. Well, it's kind of weird, but they have enrolled it recently. It's mid-snap, mid-content, and one of the companies that has been testing it out is Airbnb, which is convenient because we're on a travel conference. I would love to tell you more about the ads in Insta Stories, but they rolled out last week, and it's just really hard to make a presentation like this when everything keeps changing. But what we know is that they're going to be shown between stories. They're skippable. There's going to be links, probably. You can find all of that on the official blog of Instagram.com. So if you want to know more information, just check that out. Or you can advertise on Snapchat. Snapchat has more options for advertising. You can either get a sponsored lens or geo-filter, or just the same advertising as on Insta Stories, like as mid-snap. They have a lot of options, and they have a page where they describe it much better than I would, because I personally have never paid for an ad on Snapchat, so I can't really tell you much more. But what I do know is that based on the amount of people that you reach, and based on what we've been talking about last year, they're pretty costly. So if you're a smaller business, maybe don't just work with influencers, which is going to work so much better for you than this advertising would do. And how to start, some tips for how to do stories, what to do. Make sure to observe, not only at stories, just generally, if you're in content creation, make sure to watch other people's content as well, other brands, other people in the industry, because you can get inspired and you can learn so much just from watching. Some people only create and they don't really check what's happening elsewhere, and I think that's a big mistake. So make sure to observe. Be personal. That's a huge thing on this platform, is that it's like you have a friend. I literally have some friends that we just started watching each other's stories, and then when we met in person later, you just skipped the whole "hi, my name is." It felt like we knew each other for years, even though we've actually physically never met before. It's very personal. If you're a brand, you can use it for the backstage stuff, a little bit of behind the scenes. Show the people, show some emotions, show that you have a soul, basically. And if you're a blogger, make sure to share not only your happy face in every destination, but people really appreciate honesty, especially on a platform like this. So, once when I just said, I'm really tired and I'm homesick and whatever, I got a really big response from people, because they knew it was genuine, and people want to know that you feel the same way they feel. Measure results. If you do anything in general, but if you do any campaign or something on Snapchat or Instagram stories, make sure to know what you want to get from it before you start. I feel like a lot of influencer campaigns or whatever are, people are sometimes a little bit disappointed in the end, but that's maybe because they didn't know what they wanted in the beginning. So whatever the goal, it doesn't have to be very sophisticated, but just make sure to know what you want to achieve and then measure if that happened or not. Tell a story. It's not called stories just for nothing. Make sure to not just post random stuff from your day, but explain a little bit what's going on. Make people hooked onto what you're doing as a person or as a brand. Explain what's going on. Just tell a story. And make sure to save your content. Make sure to save, not only because of business and because you want to keep it for later, but also if it's a good visual diary. As I was editing the little highlight reel from the beginning, I found some Snapchat stories from like a year ago, and it was really cool to just look at, oh yeah, that happened. So make sure to save your content, save your screenshots. It's also good to see how you can observe how your channel is growing. And I don't know how the time is, because is it? No? This is the email again, so make sure to email me with any questions. We can meet up, we can explore more. I hope it was understandable, but also my brain is mixed up in it so much that I don't know how to explain it in a simple way. We have time for Q&A. Cool. Well, after this, I'm going to be at the iAmbassador and Travel Dudes stand as well, where I welcome you who have any questions or just want to talk to me or anything. We should go there because that's where travel influencers meet at ITB. A question?
Yes, I noticed some accounts are able to include a link, and others like mine were not allowed to. Why?
So the question is about including links in Instagram stories. I'm not 100% sure, but from what I know, I think only verified accounts can do that. So you have to be verified, and there's really no way to like request verification. You just kind of have to get chosen, or as far as I know, and I've Googled that because I want to be verified, but yeah, so that's the answer. Any other questions? We're gonna meet over there if you don't want to ask in front of everyone or you're confused or something. And yeah, I really hope that some of you will send me an email because I have time and I don't have much to do.